Hello everybody and welcome back to yet another Executions Graded in For Honor. This is the series where we take a look at each For Honor hero, go through all of their executions and give them all grades, then average them out and get a final grade for each hero. I am very excited to do this because we're done with all the vanguards. We've gone through all of them, now we're starting the assassins. And some of y'all are probably thinking, well, why are you starting here? Why with Orochi? Why'd you want to do that? Well, two reasons. The first reason is because I always kind of start with the knights, and I feel like that gets a little stale after a while, so I thought I'd switch it up. So instead, we're going to start with the samurai hero, Orochi. And second, I thought it'll make sense because Orochi is unique among the assassins. Did you know he's the only assassin who doesn't dual wield? It's true. Of all the assassins, he's the only one who uses a single weapon. So I thought it'd be kind of fun to start with the one who uses only one weapon in his fighting style. So yeah, I thought this would be very interesting. Now, for those of you who've never watched this series before, I invite you to either go to the description or look up in the upper right-hand corner of the screen where you'll see a link to a video called That's an Execution, which is where I explain how I grade everything in these videos. I explain in detail my rubric, how I do this, because I'm a teacher at heart. I was a teacher, and when it comes to grading things, I try to be as very meticulous and strict as possible. And some of you might also be thinking, now Raven, didn't you already discuss executions and rate them? Yes, I do that as well, but I don't really follow a rubric when I do those rankings or ratings. In these, I'm actually doing a grading system, and I'm grading for four things. How deadly is it? Is it something that could be realistically done? Is it efficient enough to be used on the battlefield? Is it practical? And how just blatantly cool is it? So, with all that out of the way, let's not waste any more time and get started on looking at Orochi's executions. I'm excited. Let's do this. First up, we're looking at throw and kick. Alright, pretty cool, that one. Alright, so for lethality, is this lethal? Well, the issue is first of all, the sword strike at the beginning. Is it hitting the throat? That is very hard to tell. It's going up the chest, and it might hit the throat, but I really can't tell from this angle. It's done very fast. Plus, it was done one-handed and a little sloppily, I'm not going to lie. So even if it did cut the throat, it's probably not that deep. But then the Orochi follows it up by throwing a kunai that they had hidden in their gauntlet into the chest, and then they kick it deeper into the chest. Now, here's the problem. Number one, I don't know if the kunai will be long enough to go all the way through and hit the heart. Because keep in mind, kunai knives are not throwing knives. They're not meant to go super deep. They're not meant to be thrown. That's not what they're meant to do. Naruto lied to you guys. Actually, most ninja anime lie to you guys about the kunai knife and what it's meant to do. So that'll lose points for realism, but we're on lethality. Did it go deep enough to hit the heart? I can't tell. I really can't tell. I think it would have been a better idea to just make sure that the throat cut killed them for sure and then follow up with the knife attack. But because I can't tell for sure, I'm going to go with a 3 out of 4 for lethality just because I really cannot tell. But looking at realism, back to what I said, you're throwing a kunai knife. Kunai knives were not throwing knives. They were more meant for digging or lockpicking or cutting through fences and stuff like that. They were not necessarily meant for combat. So this is unrealistic. You would not throw a kunai knife. You would throw a shuriken. You might throw a tanto. You might throw something like that. You would not throw a kunai knife. So, and even if you did throw it, there's no way it would guarantee to go that deep in. So this is a 3 out of 4 for realism. For efficiency, actually, I'll give this a 4 out of 4. It is very quick. The strike to the neck is good, and then followed up with a very quick knife throw. And after the knife throw, you kick it in deeper to ensure that you get the kill you need, and then you move on. So definitely an efficiency of 4 for that one. As for a cool factor, I gave it a 3. For me, I didn't really like it all that much, only because I felt like, did we really need just the kick when there's so many better ways to kill this guy with your sword? And I also felt like the strike to the neck as the setup for the throw with the kunai was a little unnecessary. Because we see an execution from Shinobi where he just goes all out with the shuriken. In this one, it's you use your sword and then use the knife. Why not just finish using the sword? So I gave it a 3 out of 4 for cool factor. And all of that together, it's a little weird. I mean, on the one hand, I'm not a big fan of this one, but on the other hand, I do like it. It ended up getting a 13 out of 16, which is an 81% for this execution. Next up is Seijuro's Finesse. Okay, cool. So, for lethality, we have a decapitation. Whenever you get a decapitation, you're dead. You know, so that is an obvious lethality 4 out of 4. No question there. For realism, though, I gave it a 2 out of 4 for a couple reasons. First of all, the strike into the throat. That's not impossible to do, but keep in mind, you're doing it one-handed. That's already difficult enough. And 2, realize the katana is not necessarily meant for stabbing. Now, the throat is a weak part of the body. It's very easy to puncture, but you didn't just puncture it. You sent your sword all the way through out the back. That means you went through the vertebra as well. I'm kind of like, I don't know. Could you have done that one-handed? I don't know about that. Then you pulled it out, and this is the part that got me. As the body is falling, you cut off the head with a one-handed swing. First of all, the momentum of the body falling is going with the direction of the sword, and you're swinging one-handed. I don't think you could cut off a head that easily. I don't think it could come off that easily, especially with a one-handed swing. If it were two-handed, okay, maybe. But one-handed, no, I just don't see that happening. For efficiency, 4. 4 out of 4. This is fast. You get the strike to the throat, and then follow up with a quick decapitation, and you move on. That was very good. Definitely a 4 out of 4 for efficiency. And for cool factor, I don't know. I gave it a 3 out of 4 again. It's fine. There's nothing necessarily wrong with it. Something about it just didn't appeal to me. But I still like it in practice and theory, so I gave it a 3 out of 4 for cool factor. And this one's a little bit better than the last one, I feel like, but it still got a 13 out of 16, which was an 81%. Next up is Senkei. This is honestly one of my favorite executions from Orochi. Okay, so, lethality. You got another decapitation. 4 out of 4 for lethality. For realism, you gave it a 3 out of 4. A 3 out of 4 for realism, and I'll tell you why. Unlike the previous execution where the body was going with the movement of the sword, notice how the warden is leaning back. All the gravity is coming down on warden directly, so he is literally leaning back into the strike of the sword. And Orochi's using 2 hands to do it, and using a lot of wind up to do it. Notice the way that Orochi moves when she strikes. Like, she twirls, goes down on one knee to finish off, and then swings straight upward in an arc. That is a lot of centrifugal force. That's a good wind-up. It's two-handed, and your opponent is standing stock still with gravity forcing them backwards. Yeah, that feels a lot more realistic to me. So that is a 3 out of 4. Efficiency, 4 out of 4. 4 out of 4 for efficiency. It is quick. It is deliberate, and you're done with the opponent very quickly, and you're moving on. I like that. For cool factor, it is a 4 out of 4. I love this one. It is so badass. I think what I love about it is the setup to the attack. The warden comes in and grabs the hilt, knock it out of the way, strike in the stomach, then spin their chin around to look up, and then follow up. That is smooth, baby. That is smooth. So I gave it a 15 out of 16, which is a 94. Easily one of my favorites. Next up, we have Ken no Sen. Alright, we got a lot to talk about here. For lethality, that is a 4 out of 4. Even though the head didn't come off, the strike to the throat is definitely deep enough to be lethal. So I'm definitely going to give that a 4 out of 4. For realism, I also give it a 4 out of 4. This is realistic. Everything here I feel like could easily happen. The punch to block another person's punch, that would hurt, but you could do it. The kick down to block a kick, you could do that. And then the EI strike. Actually, one thing that I love about it is it would have been so easy for them to just decapitate with that quick draw strike. They didn't, which is more realistic to me, so I really appreciated that. But for efficiency, we have a 1. We have a 1 in efficiency, a failing grade for efficiency. Why? One reason. She put away her sword. I don't care how badass you are, or how badass you think you are. I don't care how tough you think you are. I don't care how skilled you are. You put your sword away, you put your weapon away in the middle of a battle. You don't do that. You do not do that. That is a one-way ticket to death. That is how you kill yourself. Because think about it. If she puts away her sword to do this cool, haha, I'm going to beat you. What happens when an opponent runs up to save his warden buddy and then stabs you in the back? You have no weapon to defend yourself. You're dead. It's not a good idea on the battlefield. And yes, I get people all the time, oh, well, what if it's a duel? We're not talking duels. Efficiency is a grade of practicality in the face of battle. Is it efficient enough to get the kill quickly and then move on? That's practicality at its best. I probably should rename it to practicality. But that's a 1 for efficiency. But for cool factor, it's a 4. That's a 4 out of 4 for cool factor. It is very cool. I love the way it's done. It's very badass. The only thing I don't like about the execution, besides the putting away of your sword, is this kick. That kick right there, that was so lopsided. The warden just did like this really weird kick at you, and then you just kick. I don't know. I felt like that was really weak. What kind of kick was that? I've done kicks, guys. I used to be an MMA fighter. I've done kicks. That was the weirdest looking kick I've ever seen. But still, all that said, that is a 13 out of 16 again, which brings us back to an 81%. Next up is Roka no Shi. Very anime. Well, for lethality, that's going to be a 4 out of 4, because if you get this many deliberate strikes all across the body, that's going to be a lot of force, that's going to be a lot of blood lost instantaneously, and there's no question you're going to hit something lethal. That is a 4 out of 4 for lethality. For realism, though, it's a 1. Like, you could not do this. I mean, the constant strikes you could technically do, but first of all, the way the rocks are flying up in the startup, and then the speed at which you did it, there's no way you could be that fast. And also, notice how the warden does not really move. The warden just stands there and takes all those strikes. No, that wouldn't happen either. And then, of course, the delayed response, like the delayed blood flow, that doesn't happen either. So, realism is at a 1. For efficiency, it's a 3. While it is quick, it takes a little too much time to go through all those strikes when you could have just moved on. It's not bad, though, so I give it a 3. And then for cool factor, it is a 4 out of 4. It is cool. It is very anime, very cool. If there's one thing anime can do really well, it is make a sword fight look absolutely brutal. I love the way that this is done. It's very badass. So definitely a 4 out of 4 for cool, which gives us a 12 out of 16, which is a 75%. Next up, Senbazuru. All right, for lethality here, we're going to have to go with a 2 out of 4. First of all, the sword is held in a reverse grip. I hate reverse grip holding. It is inefficient, and it does not guarantee a depth of penetration, which you need for these kind of attacks. And second, even if it was a normal grip, look at where the Orochi is hitting. That sword either went into the hip or it went into the thigh. Neither of those are lethal. Seeing as the thigh did not come off, then it wasn't that lethal. I love how Warden is like looking at his chest like somehow she hit there. She didn't. Look at where the sword hit very carefully. It hit the hip or the thigh. That's not a lethal spot. So the Warden could very well have survived that. His body didn't cut in half. His leg didn't come off. He could have survived that. Like, I don't see the issue here. So that's a 2 out of 4. The only way you could have died from that is if you got a deep enough cut that it caused blood loss in a rapid way, and even then that would take a little bit of time to die, so it's not instant. For realism, it's a 3 out of 4, because I'm removing points for the reverse blade, for the reverse hold. I do not like that. I'll say it time and time again, the reverse hold does not make you do anything other than look cool. In fact, it can be a problem because with the reverse hold, it's working against your wrist when you're making the strike. So that's a 3 out of 4 for realism. Efficiency, 3 out of 4. It's quick enough. It's quick enough. It does what it needs to do, but again, because I don't think it's that deadly at all, I don't think that it's going to get the kill you need. And then finally, cool factor, 3 out of 4. 3 out of 4. It's neat. It's one of these cool nods to anime again, where you do the dashing strike and then they fall slowly. Yeah, very anime, but again, it's the reverse grip and the placement that gets me. The strike is not anywhere lethal. It's nowhere that is going to wow me. What if it was done like at the throat? Or the arm? What if you took off an arm? That would have been kind of neat, but nah, it's just not that impressive to me. So this is an 11 out of 16, which is a 69%. Next up, Tsubame Gaishi. All right, so for lethality, that's going to be a 4 out of 4. For one thing, like I said earlier, all those repeated strikes to the body and throat area are going to definitely get you the kill, especially that last strike to the throat. That'll cause massive bleed out in a very short amount of time. With all those repeated strikes, they're done. Very, very cool. For realism, though, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 4, and I'll tell you why. Again, it's all one-handed, which, no, even the real movement, the real Tsubame Gaishi, which is an actual technique in Japanese swordsmanship. For one thing, it's done with an odachi instead of a katana. And second, it was named because it could supposedly cut the wings off of a swallow mid-flight. But we'll ignore all that. The thing is, the original Tsubame Gaishi was meant to be a 2-strike move. Here, though, what's happening is it's a one-handed strike that's on 1, 2, 3, 4 times. That'll affect, that just affects it for me. And, of course, the kick out the leg to send them flying, no, that wouldn't send them flying that high. I just don't see that working that way. So that is a 2 out of 4 for realism. For efficiency, though, I'll give it a 4. It's very fast. Look at how fast that the movements are done. And then right after the strike is done, she's free to move on. Orochi's done. So 4 out of 4 for efficiency. For cool factor, I gave it a 3. For cool factor, I gave it a 3. It just doesn't wow me. It does not wow me like I expect it to. It's neat. It has good fluidity. But I think a part of me is annoyed by the constant one-handed use of the katana. Here's the thing. I know a lot of people say, you could totally wield a katana one-handed. Sure you could. You couldn't be lethal with it. That's why the katana is designed to be a two-handed sword. So, I don't know. This one didn't sit well with me. So this one gets a 13 out of 16, which brings us back to an 81%. And bow. Alright, so we got a decapitation, which is a 4 out of 4 for lethality. Very lethal, very good. But is it realistic? I give it a 3 out of 4 for realism, and I'll tell you why. The two-handed strike to the throat is fine. It could easily cut the throat wide open. They're going to bleed out, and within seconds, they're done. You know what doesn't work? The decapitation. You know it doesn't work? The decapitation. I do not see you being able to decapitate that easily from that position. And not only that, look at the way that it's wound up. I don't see it wound up in the right way for that to work. And people say, oh no, but katanas decapitate all the time. Yes, but usually they're in downward strokes on a kneeling opponent or on a person who is bowing, something along those lines. This side strike, also, it doesn't look like the katana reached all the way through the neck, like all the way around. It looked like it only hit the front of the neck. So I don't think that this could decapitate. Plus, even if it did, let's say that it did decapitate, why is it taking so long for the warden to respond? Why did the warden just stand there and then slowly fall forward with the head lopping off like that? That's not how that would work. It's kind of funny because in For Honor, some decapitations have the head fly off, just boom, it just flies off like it's connected by a spring, you know? Here, it just kind of slowly rolls off, and I'm not a fan of that. For efficiency, it's a 1. Again, you put away your sword and then took the time to bow. As funny as it is, and it is funny, it's not efficient. You should never put away your weapon in the middle of the battlefield. Not a good idea. And then finally, cool factor, I give it a 3 out of 4. It's funny. It's definitely funny. I like the fact that the warden and the Orochi are bowing to each other. I do think that is funny. So, yeah, I got to give it points for that. So, 3 out of 4 for cool factor, which gives us an 11 out of 16, which is a 69%. Next up is Toro Toro. Okay, for efficiency here, I gave it a 3 out of 4. Orochi doesn't seem to be hitting anything vital. However, that's 3 strikes, 2 in the thighs and hip area, and then 1 into the back. So that's going to be a lot of bleed out and trauma. So that will probably kill, but I can't say for certain that it would be an instant kill. So we'll give it a 3 out of 4 for lethality. For realism, I gave it a 4 out of 4. Everything here is very realistic. The movement, the swiftness of it. And you'll notice that Orochi doesn't go into that reverse grip. You know, she kind of maintains a two-handed hold on it. And it's held right in both instances. So 1 strike, 2 strike, stab back, move on. I like that. For efficiency, I gave it a 2. And the reason why is because you could have very easily ended this fight much quicker by having those strikes that you did a little higher up on the body. Have them strike the upper chest or the sides. You'd be doing more damage to more vital areas. So I think that you could have done that a bit better. And then for cool factor, 3 out of 4. It's 3 out of 4. It is neat. It is neat, I've got to admit, but it just didn't wow me. It did not wow me. I know a lot of people like this one, so of course it's not going to fail. And I do think that there is good to it. I do think that it's a unique way of doing this. But it almost feels like the Warden's just making it worse on themselves. I don't see a lot of effort out of the Orochi on this one. But either way, it's definitely 3 out of 4 for cool factor, which leaves us with a score of 12 out of 16, which is a 75%. Next up is overkill. All right, for lethality, we have a 3 out of 4 here. Double strikes across the chest could probably kill. I think you have a good chance of hitting something lethal. But I can't say that it would kill right away. It's definitely going to bleed out, though, and they will definitely bleed out in time. But I don't know it would be an instant kill. Because look at the way the Warden falls. They're clutching themselves. So they're still alive enough to feel that pain to try to fight to keep themselves alive. So that would be my thought there. 3 out of 4. For realism, 4 out of 4. This is a very realistic execution. Starting off with a knee strike into the chest and then 2 very fast strikes into the chest. That is how you would use a katana. Very, very good. So that is a 4 out of 4. For efficiency, also a 4 out of 4. There was no time or energy wasted in this. This was done very quickly. The knee to set up, 2 solid strikes, you're done, you're moving on. That's that. So definitely good. For cool factor, I got to give it a 2 out of 4. I don't know. It's just, with all these others, even with the 3s out of 4s, there was some flash to it. And I know it's a weird combo, isn't it? Like, if it's too flashy, it's probably not going to be as efficient, But at the same time, there are some executions that can be total 4 out of 4s, and this one isn't it. It was kind of quick. It was double strike and then move on. It wasn't for me. That gives it a 13 out of 16, which is an 81%. Still a good one, though. Next up, kneel for me. All right, for lethality, that is a 4 out of 4. We've got a decapitation, so 4 out of 4 for lethality. For realism, this is a 4 out of 4. This is how the samurai would execute, okay? Get them into a kneeling position, have their head bowed slightly, and then take off the neck with a downward strike. That is the proper way to decapitate with a katana. That looks excellent, and the technique looks beautiful. For efficiency, this is efficient. You've set up the opponent to go down. 4 out of 4 for efficiency. Set the opponent up to go down. Them into the knee. Take off the head. You're done. I even like the fact that the Orochi returns to a guard position. So, very well done. I like that. 4 out of 4 for efficiency. For cool factor, ready for a mind blow? I'm going to say 4 out of 4. What I love about this execution, what really gets me, is the setup to the execution. Not the actual decapitation itself, which is fine. But the setup, the plunging of the dagger into the stomach, which is almost like, with seppuku, you stab into the stomach. Then bringing them down by striking the blade down so their body follows the blade. That is a clever way to get them into position and then take off the head with a follow-up strike. That is very well done. I definitely like the way that was handled. That is 4 out of 4. So guys, we got a 16 out of 16, which is a 100%. Yes, sir. We've got a perfect score on an execution here for Orochi. Excellently done. Excellently done. Next up, we have From Above. Let's see it again. All right, so we have another lethality of 4 out of 4, which is, decapitation, obviously. For realism. Yeah, I can see this. This is a 4 out of 4. This is very realistic. So the climbing up of the knee to get momentum and to get height, and then bringing the sword straight down like a guillotine, that could work. I could see that working. You're getting what you need. They're in a bowing, kneeling position. You're coming down with a very fast strike, and you've got the weight of gravity and your own body weight behind the blade. Yeah, that could work. For efficiency, what can I say? 4 out of 4. This is a very fast execution. You climb up, take them down, it's done, you moved on, effort shown from you. I like that, 4 out of 4. And then for cool factor, I gotta give it a 4 out of 4 for cool factor, and I'll tell you why. Because, look, one of the things about katana decapitations is I'm very particular. You want your opponent to be in a position where you can use your body weight, gravity, and their own position to get the execution. And getting them in that position unwillingly is hard to do. So using the knee to climb up the knee and then bring it down like that, that's brilliant. I love that. I love the fact that the Orochi was willing and able to do something like that, especially since I've done something similar back when I did my Muay Thai kickboxing days. There were times I would kick a person and then I'd use their knee as a springboard to drive my knee into their chin or into their chest. I mean, it's a possible maneuver, and I'm glad to see it used here. So guys, a 4 out of 4 again. This is a 16 out of 16, another perfect execution. Have we had that yet? Have we had a hero have 2 perfect executions in the same grading? Scary, but definitely cool. Thank you, Orochi, for a beautiful execution. Let's see if you can keep it up. Next up is clean kill. Okay, obviously another lethality of 4 out of 4, because, you know, head is coming off. For realism, though, I'm going to give this a 2 out of 4, and I'll tell you why. There is no momentum in the sword here. You're walking up, placing the sword by their neck, and then just somehow snipping it off like they're a pair of scissors. That's not how that works. With a sword of that weight and size, it's not going to cut off the head without a lot of momentum. So that's a 2 out of 4. I don't see that happening. Or at least not without some luck. For efficiency, 4 out of 4. It's quick. It's done very fast, and then you go right back into a guard position very quick. Look at how fast she goes back into a guard position. Like, she's done, she's ready, she's moved on. I like that. And then for cool factor, I give it a 1. I'm sorry. I don't like this execution. I just don't. I feel it's just, you're taking a pair of scissors to a dude's head, and I don't like that. That's my big issue with it. I don't like this one. So that is an 11 out of 16, which is a 69%. Stinks, doesn't it? We just had 2 perfect ones, and now we're back to a 69%. Next, we have excessive force. All right, we have another decapitation here. That is a 4 out of 4 for lethality. For realism, I gave it a 1. I gave it a 1 for realism because I don't believe that for a millisecond. I don't believe you could ever do that. Again, we've got a reverse hand grip on the sword. Already a bad sign because you're not going to get the kind of strength or hold you need. And then you're somehow able to take off the full head in one swing. And this isn't a downward swing. This isn't even a downward swing where you're using gravity and your body's weight either. You are doing it horizontally. And then you did it with a reverse. No, you cannot hold your sword in a reverse hand grip and take off the whole head. Maybe you could cut the throat. But taking off the whole head in that grip? No, I don't buy that for a second. Is it efficient though? 4 out of 4 for efficiency. Yeah, it's quick. The elbow strike to the head to set up for the follow-up strike is good. I like that. That was efficient. That was kind of neat. And for cool factor, as much as I don't believe it, let's set aside my disbelief and talk about it from a cool perspective. I do think it's cool. Imagine if this was done a little better. Like, instead of reverse holding it, what if they did it and then did a full spin while holding the sword both-handed and did that swing? That would have been a lot cooler. That would have been a lot better for me. I would have given it full marks as a 4 out of 4 cool factor. But because of what it could be versus what it is, I have to go 3 out of 4 for cool factor. Sad as it is, but it is what it is. So that is a 12 out of 16, which is a 75%. I know, I'm sad too. Next up, we have choke on this. All right, that is going to be a 4 out of 4 for lethality. Definitely going to kill. That is definitely going to kill the enemy. The trauma of striking across the chest, then striking into the throat, and then the slow pull out. Ugh, that hurts. And not only that, it's probably going to go through the vertebrae, which means that you're going to suffer from paralysis. There's going to be no signals from the brain to the rest of the body. They're done. This person is done. So 4 out of 4 for that. For realism, I'd say 4 out of 4. Look at that. It's two-handed stab into the throat. Now, remember what I said earlier when I said that it's hard to get that stab into the throat all the way, and I got on Sage Rose Finesse for that? But this time it's two-handed, and it is a deliberate strike into the neck. I like that a lot more. The only problem I have with this execution is it gets a 3 out of 4 for efficiency, because you don't need the slow pull-out. You've stabbed through the neck, now yank out immediately. Just yank out immediately. Why does the warden grab? The warden may be grabbing it. You just yank out. Don't go the slow, like, aha, I got you now, slow fall. So no, you didn't need to do that. So that's a 3 out of 4 for efficiency. And for cool factor, I gave it a 2 out of 4. Now, I know that the cool factor is a little bit more of a personal thing, but for me, I just didn't find this one as intriguing. The katana is a slashing weapon first and foremost. I'm not going to enjoy it as much when it's just a stabbing thing, because I feel like it's not using the katana for what it was meant for. I mean, I guess when you really think about it, it's not that big of a deal, but it's just for me. So that gives it a 13 out of 16, which is an 81%. Next up is Neck Snap. Okay, I hate this execution. Hate it with a passion. And we'll talk about why. Let's start with lethality. Is this lethal? I give it a 2 out of 4 for lethality, and I'll tell you why. Look at the way she's holding the head. She grabs it, and then notice how the Orochi's hands do not move. Watch Orochi's hands very carefully. Watch her hands very carefully. They do not move. The head moves. The head kind of jerks itself back like it just magically broke its own neck. But her hands do not twist. They do not suddenly jerk. They do not suddenly yank. They just stay in the same position while the warden's head goes crack. So there was no movement from the Orochi there. He magically broke his own neck. But even if he did magically break his own neck, you don't necessarily die from neck breaks. You could still live through them. There are plenty of people who have had their neck broken and still live to talk about it. If anything, you might have just cracked his neck there. I'm sure he feels better. He could have died from it. Could have. That's why I gave it a 2 out of 4, but I doubt it. And then realism, 1 out of 4. Again, the head magically broke itself. The neck magically broke. The Orochi didn't do it. The Orochi didn't break his neck. It was just crack. Oh, well, I guess you died. Moving on. There's no realism to that, and I hate it. And then for efficiency, another 1. Okay, get this, guys. I want to ask you a question, just a personal question. Why didn't the Orochi decide to just cut off his head? You've knocked him to his knees. He is on his knees now because you cut at his leg. Why not just take off his head? Or why not stab him through the shoulder or through the back of the head? You have great options here. So your first thought is to try to choke him out? Of course that's inefficient. You're not using the weapon for what it's meant to be used for. You've decided, I'm going to choke him. And of course, people are going to say, well, it's something new. It's something unique. Yeah, I might be okay with that if it wasn't a sword user. Oh, the sword is a weapon used for cutting and stabbing, and you decided you'll choke out? No. All right, and then the last one, cool factor. 1 out of 4. I hate it, as you can probably tell. But here's the other reason I hate it. Look at the way the sword is placed. The blade is going into Orochi's arm as she's trying to break his neck. That means the only thing that blade is cutting is her own arm. She is cutting her own arm to break his neck. That is beyond stupid. And then second, and this is the part that gets me. Think about it, guys. Ask yourself, if you were given an authentic katana, like someone handed you a katana, and they said, you have this katana, perfectly sharp, perfectly deadly, go kill that guy, and you went to go kill that guy, what would you do? Would you cut off his head? Would you stab him in the gut? Would you slice him in half? Or would you break his neck with your arms? This is a dumb execution. It's easily the one I hate the most out of any of Orochi's executions, and it gets a 5 out of 16, which is a 31%, a failing grade. This is a terrible, terrible execution. I hate it. And I know I'm going to get some hate in the comments for saying that. I despise this execution. Last one is Tobasu. Okay, so for lethality, I'm going to give this a 1 out of 4. I don't think this is going to be lethal at all. The only time that there's only one strike, and it's across the chest, and then the Orochi kicks them. Okay. First of all, you have to assume that the strike was deep enough to hit something vital. I don't think it was. Again, it's a one-handed strike. You do have some centrifugal force. You had some build-up to it, but I don't think you're going to get deep enough to cause any damage. Keep in mind, if you'd stabbed it, definitely, I wouldn't be questioning it. I would have said, yeah, definitely, you hit something vital. But here, it's just a slash across the chest and then a kick. You might not have hit anything vital. They might get up with a very nice scar wound later. I don't think that this would kill. For realism, that's 4 out of 4. You could do this. This is a realistic move. There's no added strength required here. The kick is fine. I don't see anything wrong there. Efficiency, it's a 3 out of 4. I don't know why you're kicking the guy. I always take off 1 point of efficiency if I know for a fact this won't kill. And I just know this won't kill. There is nothing here that makes me think, oh yeah, you're dead. You're dead. Yeah, no, for sure, you're dead. No, I don't believe you are. And then for cool factor, 1 out of 4. I don't like this one. It's not as bad as the last one, but I'm just like, you're kicking the dude. You're not even sure he's dead, but you're just kicking the dude. What's the point of that? Like, I'm not a fan of it. I just don't like it. Which leaves us with a 9 out of 16, which is a 56%. Very sad. All right, and that is all the executions graded. Man, what a ride those were. Some really good ones, 2 perfect ones, and then ended off with 2 awful ones. So what does that leave us with? Well, after putting all the scores together and averaging them out, we get a total of, you ready for this? A 72%. That's right, a 72% average. You know what, guys? I'll be real honest. I'm a little surprised. The Orochi was actually my first main. When I first started playing For Honor when it came out, Orochi was the one I ranked up first. I loved Orochi's aesthetic. I loved the katana. I was a huge fan of the sword and the style. There was a lot I loved about the way Orochi moved, and even now, I still think Orochi's a great character. I just think that they have a move set that opens its way to toxicity. But when I was looking over the executions, I noticed some patterns. For one thing, there were a lot of guaranteed lethalities. So lethality was not the issue until the last 2 executions, which I would argue would not kill. So lethality was definitely something Orochi was giving in bulk. And even the cool factor, even though I was very harsh on the cool factor in a lot of areas, the area that it really suffered was efficiency and realism. There were lots of moments where I just did not feel that the movements were realistic and that the movements were not efficient enough. Part of it was because I think people misunderstand what the katana is capable of. People get this idea, especially from anime, that the katana is this god-tier weapon that can do just about anything and cut through anything and can stab efficiently and all this other stuff. And of course, the other problem is that Orochi constantly uses one-handed strikes. And I know that's because Orochi uses one-handed strikes as their light attack. The problem is you've got to recognize that the katana is, at the end of the day, a two-handed weapon. And if you're not using it two-handed, there's going to be a chance you're not going to have the strength or power to be able to cut deep enough to make any real difference. And so that's what I think hurt the Orochi here. The over trust in what the katana is capable of without the full use of both hands. But with that said, I think this is the first hero who got 2 perfect scores during the grading. I'm very impressed with what they did, very impressed with how it came out. I really, really like a lot of these executions, particularly the ones that got a 100%. I love them. I absolutely love them. And of course, some of them just blow my mind, such as Senkei, which I think is probably my favorite execution of the samurai, let alone Orochi. So yes, still a fun one to look over. I'm surprised it got a 72, but sometimes that does happen. In any case, guys, thank you guys so much for watching. If you need a refresher about how I grade things, again, look in the description. You'll be able to see my rubric and how I grade everything. If you have any questions about how I graded Orochi here or any of my other gradings, you can ask me in the comments. I always read the comments. Just be respectful, because I know there are going to be some Orochi fans who don't like how I graded Orochi's work, but it's my position. Thank you guys so much for watching, as always, and I will see you in my next video. Take care.